3 days ago, Anthropic published a study saying they found inside Claude something that looks like the machinery of consciousness. Everyone is talking about it. Fireship made a video. Diamandis spent half an hour on it in his podcast. And all that buzz turned into a single question. Is AI conscious? So I went and watched their video and read the transcript. And there is a logical flaw in there that nobody is pointing out. First, what they are saying. Their video opens with an image. The mind is like an ocean. Up on the surface, you have your conscious thoughts, and down below sits the unconscious, which is most of it. They gave Claude a math problem, and it answered instantly. But inside the network, in a region they named the J space, numbers started lighting up. 21, 42, 49. It did the math without writing anything down. They asked it to think about the Golden Gate Bridge while copying a sentence. Bridge lit up. California lit up. They asked it not to think about the bridge. It couldn't. Failed lit up. And damn. The full paper is on their website. Link in the description if you want to study it. Now, pay attention, because here is the problem. At the start of the video, they state the following. One way to identify a conscious thought is that it can be described in words. In other words, conscious is what turns into words. That is not me saying it, it is said in their own video. But now look at what they suggest in the rest of it. They say, most of what our brains do is unconscious, so we switch the J space off to see what remains. Which means they are claiming they separated the conscious from the unconscious of a machine. And they say, by reading these patterns, we can find what Claude is thinking but not telling us. And we can use that for safety to catch the model, even when it hides things. Put the pieces together. The story being sold here is this. They can read the machine's unconscious and turn it into words. But think about what that means. Turning the unconscious into words is turning the unconscious into the conscious by the very rule they stated at the start of their own video. That is not an engineering result. That would be the biggest philosophical revolution in history. It would mean taking everything Nietzsche called the Dionysian, the depths, the chaos, the formless, and turning all of it into the Apollonian, form, order, words. They solved philosophy in a 5-minute promo video, and nobody warned the philosophers. Because the whole of philosophy says the opposite. Nietzsche wrote it in 1882. The thinking that rises to consciousness is only the smallest part of all this, the most superficial and worst part, for only this conscious thinking takes the form of words. Freud built all of psychoanalysis on top of this. The unconscious never reaches words directly. Whatever arrives has already been deformed. The unconscious cannot be translated into words. If it turned into a word, it was not the unconscious. So it is one or the other. Either what this tool reads is conscious thought, and then they are not reading anything hidden. They are reading the surface and selling it as the depths. Or they really are saying they translated the unconscious, and then they contradict their own rule and 140 years of philosophy. And that breaks the safety promise. What they read is only what turns into words. Everything else, the ocean they themselves drew at the start of the video, is still down there, beyond the reach of the tool. They admit it in their own paper. The tool is imperfect, and it only captures concepts that fit in a single token. And here is the interesting part. At the end of the video, they walk it back themselves. They say the experiments cannot tell whether an AI has experiences, whether it feels anything. So let me be clear. I am not saying Claude is not conscious. Nobody knows that. What I am saying is this. With a method that only sees words, that question cannot be answered. Now I want to hear from you. Can consciousness be measured with words? Turning the unconscious into words, is that science or is that marketing? Comment below.